The Oklahoma Business Show is proudly sponsored by Your IT. Visit yourit.com to learn more about our services and schedule a chat to find out how we can help you. That's yourit.com. You deserve better IT.
I'm Chris Mraz, and welcome to the Oklahoma Business Show, where we speak with business owners and leaders about their struggles, successes, and things they've learned along the way. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Oklahoma Business Show. Today, we are sitting here with Alyssa Weathers-Murphy. Thank you so much for joining us. Alyssa is the owner of Siren Media, a woman-owned marketing agency here in OKC. Works with small business owners on branding, web design, social media, advertising, the whole enchilada. So if you would start us off giving us a little better bio than what I just did.
That was really good. Was it on my new website?
It may have been significantly sourced from LinkedIn and your website. Yes.
Perfect.
But anyway.
Well, and yeah, thank you, Chris, for having me. Like Chris said, my name's Alyssa Weathers-Murphy, and I started a marketing agency at first against my will. Okay. But out of necessity about 4.5 years ago. And it's just been a wild ride. So we're approaching year 5. I love working with small businesses. I love working with, nonprofits and organizations that don't have a strong marketing department that need help. That's kind of my passion, but my background, rewind music. Okay. We just hopped in the time machine together. It was 1988. Okay, no, just kidding. We won't go back all the way to the year I was born, but I'm from Edmond, Oklahoma, and my family owned a TV business. It's still there. They've sold it actually this year. It's called Weathers TV and Appliance. And my grandpa started that in 1958. And over time, my dad, I think in like the late 80s, early 90s, came into the business and helped him. It was more of like a repair and appliance store. And my dad came in around the 80s, 90s and really made it more of a stereo audio, cool tech sales floor environment. Then he started expanding the business into the unit next door. So they expanded into a unit next door to them in downtown Edmond. So they're still standing today. My earliest memories of business was behind the counter. So, this back in the 90s where you'd have those big screen TVs, right? Like the really big, deep, boxy ones. Yeah. And my mom and dad didn't trust me to stay at home with my sisters. They were both like 6 and 7 years older than me. They were afraid that I was going to get beat up or whatever. They were going through their goth phase. We all have one. And I would spend summers and after school behind or in between like those huge big screen TVs, sometimes scare the heck out of customers. Like, child there. But I grew up there. That was very much my upbringing was behind the scenes of a small business. And I remember my papa, older generation, and my dad having conversations about how they're going to have, more phone calls that month. What are they going to do to get business going? And that was kind of like a memory, like the kids call it core memory on TikTok, but I just want to, whatever. That's probably a core memory though, like hearing that conversation. So as I grew older, went through my goth phase in my teen years that I don't know that I ever grew out of. It's just more colorful now. I started realizing that I had a knack for selling. And what is selling? Like, what is marketing? Marketing is selling on a on a much bigger scale. I feel like I'm one of the only few millennials who can say I went to college and I used both of my degrees. I went to school for business administration, marketing, and I took a minor in professional selling. So I've always had an interest in developing that skill. Yeah, the gift of gab. I've always had the gift of gab.
So I love that because the first thing I was going to ask you was, is this something you had always wanted to do, was to own your own business? Are you comfortable sharing kind of what that journey was of take it away?
It's called a trauma dump.
Oh, wow. Let's do it.
Let's do the trauma dump, shall we? Okay, back to college, went to school, got my degree. I had all of this imposter syndrome when I had just graduated college because there for about 6 years or so between that high school and graduating college, 6 or 7 years. Hey, shout out to anybody who's taken forever to graduate college. That was something that I was super, super insecure about, but it turns out that nobody cares. And good on you if you get through it, and good on you if you don't. Like, I don't care as much as I did then. But I graduated and I had all these years of retail experience. So I was working as a makeup artist. I worked for some prestige brands. I started off at beauty brands, worked my way up. Beauty brands is no longer in business. I don't know if you know this. I don't know where you get your shampoo, but that was a really big company. They were around for many years. I think maybe like 10, 20 years. I don't know. Started stocking shampoo there when I was like 18 years old. I was making $7.25 an hour, and I'd worked myself up everywhere I went. Eventually got recruited at Dillard's, worked for all these prestige brands. The ladies and some of your other listeners might know MAC Cosmetics. That was a really big deal. Yeah. Like 10, 13, 15 years ago, like this is probably the third time I've said goth on your show. So let that be a record if anybody else can say goth like more than that.
We'll make sure and put the hashtag in the notes there.
Hashtag goth business ladies. That was a place I always wanted to work at, but you can only do retail I feel like retail, you have people who do it all their lives, and that is like their career, and that is wonderful. For me, I was not strong enough in my feet to deal with being on my feet all day. So when I graduated college and I had all this, makeup artistry experience, yes, but I had sales experience because it's just like working anywhere else. You have your goals. You have to know a little bit about managing a team. It is a business.
You have to learn how to deal with rejection in a retail.
Yes, constant and high volume. So after I graduated college, I thought to myself in my head, that evil little gremlin in your head that gives you the self-doubt scripts, like, nobody's going to hire you. You're just a makeup artist. They're going to find out. I don't know what they were going to find out. That I went to college and got a degree.
And worked your way through like everyone else had?
And had business experience. I don't know, I just had the worst time dealing with that. And I actually got a job right out of college, was recruited by a very small web design company here locally. And that didn't work out. I think I worked there for 4 or 5 months. And they were very small shop. Okay. Went and got my foot in the door in media. So I was kind of venting to one of my girlfriends who I worked with in cosmetics. She said, my husband's company is hiring. That's always how it works too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Always how it works.
Relationships, connections.
I mean, you can find a job online. You can find a job on LinkedIn. You can build connections online. But really, you will find the weirdest connections by just telling people in your network what you're looking for. And that's what happened to me. Greg Sorrells is his name. Shout out Greg at Cox Media. I was friends with both of them, long-time friends. And he said, this makes perfect sense. You've got a marketing degree. You're a salesperson. You understand the world. Why don't you interview for this job? So I interviewed for a marketing position. I got rejected. I called them back. This is a hack. If you get rejected from a corporate, like big company, call them back and sell yourself. I did that. Maybe it was because I just had no shame. I don't know if I have shame. We all have different types of shame. But
we have levels.
Yeah. But I called back and I said, well, I understand I didn't get the job. I understand the other candidate has more experience. That, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't get it, but I'm excited for them. Is there anything else that they're hiring for? Because I really enjoyed that work environment. So I'm talking to a recruiter in Atlanta at this point. What else can I apply for? I want to work for this company. And she said, you know what? I like that you asked that. She said that there might be something, but she didn't know. So she'd get back to me. Locally, that media outlet reached out to me and said, hey, we were thinking of putting together this junior sales position and we want you to interview for it.
That's pretty incredible. Now, did Atlanta pass your information down here locally?
Well, I had already had the local contact.
Okay.
So that's one little piece of advice. I don't know if you have a lot of listeners that are working in a very big company, but if you're in a situation,
I don't know if I have any listeners either. But we'll continue on.
You know what? You know what I meant though. Like if anybody's out there trying to get a job with a very big company, it is always going to help get your name pulled in faster when you have somebody who's further up the chain. But they did. They called me back and I applied for it and I got the job and I was there for about 3.5 years. And this company was the advertising branch for the local cable company. So they sold, 30-second TV spots on all the channels on all your cable and satellite networks that take local advertising. So I learned so much about TV, about digital marketing, about media in general, about contracts, about sales, having to build a book of business. Like that was really a good foundation. It was very difficult. And shout out to sales reps who have been in media for a long time. It is hard to get out of it because you do kind of get stuck in that cycle. I mean, any industry you're in as a salesperson, it's hard to kind of get out of. Yep. But some of my nearest and dearest friends, I still keep in touch with them. And I have so much love in my heart for that. Just say, wasn't really for me. I think I hit about year 3.5 and I just was feeling burned out. You're in some of those, I won't say old school, but a different kind of sales management structure where, you walk in and there's cubicles everywhere. Everybody's in a sales pit. All your numbers are on the board. Like that's what it was at the time. This is a long time ago.
Old school intense.
Very, very intense. And I wanted to get out of that. The other reason I wanted to get out of it was because I felt like small businesses couldn't always use my product. Right? Like if you get a phone call, if you're a small business owner and you get a phone call from somebody trying to sell you a $1,500 a month or $2,500 a month, $10,000 a month package to be on TV. Well, that's cool. But at the time that I was selling these, I would meet with mom and pop shops who could afford that, but they didn't have a website or the website was broken. So what's going to happen when somebody goes to Google this business? They're going to lose that lead. Yeah. Ethically to me, that's wrong. So it just wasn't the right tool to help the kind of client I wanted to help.
Okay. Well, so tell me this. You realize it's not the best fit for you. Mm-hmm. As you're going through college and you graduated with the business degree in marketing, what were you hoping to get into?
That's a good question. I don't know that I really knew. I mean, initially I thought, I want to work for a department, or I want to work in a department. I want to have a consistent schedule. I want to work 9 to 5. I want to get out of work and be happy. I want to know what's expected of me every day. And that's interesting because when I graduated, nobody was calling me back for marketing jobs.
Oh, wow.
The only callbacks I was getting was for sales jobs. It's probably the same today, if I had to guess. Okay. But I interviewed at quite a few different places, but the strongest offers that I got were all sales oriented.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Continue.
Where were we? We were talking about.
So you're done. You're done at the wonderful experience you had at Cox Media, and now you're looking for what's next.
Bounced around a little bit there for a while. I went back to working for smaller firms. There were 2 firms in between there. One that did video production on a really cool scale. They also did learning management software. They were located in Norman. Worked there for about a year. That was starting to kind of feel like media though. It was a different kind of feel because it was a small company trying to figure out how to manage more salespeople. So they were expanding. Still have a lot of friends that work there. Still love the owner. Just didn't work. And then the last one was just, me not having alternatives. I was approached to take on a business development job again for a very small firm that was more aligned with more like the one that I worked for right out of college, which was we do websites, SEO, social media, if you're seeing a pattern in my past. Okay. And I was like, you know what? It might be good to get back to this because now I've got all these years of experience understanding how to sell to clients and how to consult a little bit better. I might give this another shot. Plus it's a better tool for small business owners. That's what really small business owners, nonprofits, and organizations that I want to work with, that's the kind of stuff they need.
What did you see was a better tool?
Like the websites, offering that as a solution, social media, Google ads, just all the jargon you hear in digital marketing. And I was there for about 3 months and it was the silliest thing. I think that these guys were very well-intended. I was very well-intended. I gather that they just did not understand what it took to get a salesperson equipped and how long it takes to get sales off the ground. Had a couple of contracts sell and, hindsight, I have a lot more understanding and grace for them in their position. Of course, you're always bitter when something like that happens, but they did let me go. They let me go. And it was the first time I'd ever gotten fired. The shame gremlins, those were a real thing. It was like Fraggle Rock of shame gremlins in my head. Just like, oh my gosh, you got fired. You're worthless. Like, what the heck are you even doing? But that is honestly the best career thing that has ever happened to me was being let go.
Yeah. And that's not uncommon. And I know, in my career life and things, and people will tell you that at some point, and you're like, whatever. You're crazy. Yeah. And then when it happens 3, 6, maybe a year later, you're like, that was good.
It was solid. You need a good 3 years to de-spice.
Yeah.
I think.
To de-spice.
Oh God. I feel like everybody in my network, I told that story, like, you would never believe. But honestly, if I were in their position, if I had made the same decision that they did, I probably would have had to make a decision like that. When you're a small company, you have to make decisions. You try new things, doesn't work out. You have to try and go back. You have to take a step back. So when I got let go, that really did force me to take stock in what I had been doing the last few years, many years. And I realized, the one thing that I've been doing really, really well throughout this entire, 6 years or so, that whole span of time, was I've been doing a lot of networking. I was the incoming president for my association, the American Marketing Association, started volunteering with them in college, and I became the chapter president for the Oklahoma City chapter. And I had kind of accumulated all of these people in my network. And I had just told everybody for 3 months, hey, I'm doing websites and small business stuff. And it was starting to trickle. Like I was starting to get leads right at the time they let me go. So I thought, I never had any desire to do this. And I remember telling one of the partners at that company, I have zero desire to be an agency owner, like negative desire to be an agency owner. I just want to come in, do my job, and go home. Well, that same time, I also had a lot of friends who had gotten furloughed. So there was a local media company that had just folded. So there was an SEO specialist, there was a Facebook ads person, there was a social media person, and then there was another company that was laying people off. And so I was introduced to a web developer. Most of these people are still freelancers on my team. So I filed my LLC paperwork and started calling people and said, I think I started a marketing firm.
Okay.
It's called Siren Media, and we're doing social media right now, but the goal is to start doing other things. And I did.
So you saw the opportunity, you grabbed it. Mm-hmm. I love that. Love it.
Terrifying.
And so for the first few months or year, do you stop and question that decision?
Nope.
Or you hit the ground running and you're like...
Hit the ground running. I mean, at first... And my husband is my biggest cheerleader. Shout out Matt Murphy. One word, Matt Murphy. Technically, legally, it's 2, but I just call him Matt Murphy. He's my biggest cheerleader and supporter. And when I told him what I was thinking of doing, he said, okay. He supported me for a month or 2 before I was able to, get my clients off the ground and just get some cash underneath me. Without us being able to do that, I probably wouldn't have. So if anybody out there is thinking of starting a business, the first thing you need to make sure you're able to do, 1, get a few clients, 2 or 3 clients. 2, be ready to pay all of your living expenses for a few months. You need to build that on-ramp. After that, if you're doing what you need to be doing every day and you're starting to build word of mouth and starting to get business, it starts to happen if your product is good and if your brand is good. Now, if you start making people angry or your product's not good,
then you better plan for month 7 when everyone leaves you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So frequently we'll hear people say similar where they had this opportunity and they jumped on it. Looking back, is it something you think you would have gotten to eventually? Or do you think had that not happened, had you not gone through that shitty experience, do you think you'd be where you are? Or do you think that you would have just kept going through being an employee? And
I probably would have stayed being an employee 100%. I don't know. And it's hard to say, but based on where I was going, I probably would have just stayed the course of being an employee somewhere.
I hate that it happened. I love that it happened.
Same. Yeah. Same.
Because knowing you for the time I have, such an encouragement. So I'm glad that you were forced to go down this path.
Well, thanks. How long have we known each other? A couple years? It was through Sandler training, I think. It was through COVID.
We'll say 3.
3 years, 3-ish years.
Yeah. Plus or minus 1.
Cool.
Yeah. So you are a well-known advocate for women in business. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if you can share how that's impacted your journey as a business ownership.
Good question. Good question. It's one of those things too that sometimes I forget. I don't know if people who are in different, classes or, races or have different things about them. But like after a while, you just kind of forget, like, oh yeah, there's this different thing about me. But yeah, I am a woman. I'm a female. Business owner. There's fewer of us. That sucks. But there are a lot of reasons why that could be. And I'm really passionate about helping other woman-owned businesses, even if they're my quote unquote competitor. I don't care. Like there's enough business in Oklahoma City and in this part of the country, region, whatever, to go around. I'm very much abundance mindset. But I love hearing other women who have, gone through their own obstacles in life. For a lot of women that can look like the decision to start a family and how to balance that. Not to say that men don't have that too, but like it's very different for women. What do you do with your children? What if your spouse leaves you? What do you do? XYZ. Like I think I'm so very much empowered, encouraged by women in my life that, that's a really big motivating factor. And to see some of the stats, it's getting better. There was some study, and I'll need to find it. I think COVID was a huge turning point for a lot of women to leave the workforce because it forced a lot of people to reevaluate their lives. All of a sudden they're out of work for months and months and months because their company can't operate. There was a huge influx of female entrepreneurs entering the market. So way to go, ladies. I'm super excited about that. But honestly, I don't think that being a woman-owned business has necessarily hurt us. That being said, if you go to my website, you're going to see, lots of bold colors. You're going to see blue, but you're going to see hot pink. And if you're the kind of business owner that's like, oh my gosh, I hate those colors. And if they decide not to call me, I might not want to work with you. So I think it's good. It's kind of a qualifier, right? But yeah, also working with young people out of college is another big part of my heart because it sucks. It sucks. And anybody who's getting through college knows it sucks. Anybody getting out of college trying to find a job knows it sucks. People who are in transition knows it sucks. One of my favorite things to do is to get referred somebody who's struggling. So I will get people referring me like, hey, my friend could really use a pep talk. Hey, my friend could really use some direction and guidance. I've kind of toyed with the idea of having some sort of career coaching or guidance program or course or something like that. Because I've, over the years, have created some criteria that I use when I'm evaluating some business decision or employment opportunity, kind of retroactively, because now I'm a business owner. And I think it's really important that people be really picky and choosy about where they work. And for women, so we live in Oklahoma. We live in the South. We live in a part of the country where things are a little bit more buttoned up, a little more conservative. For young girls, the message is oftentimes don't be rude and be quiet. And what is something rude that you do? Being rude means asking people questions, being a little too personal. One of the questions that hurts women in business is being that message of not to ask people about money. Don't talk about money. Don't be too loud. Don't assume too much. Don't take up too much space. And that message, it's a micro message, but if you're somebody who is trying to abide by like the standard, I need to make my family proud, I need to make my community proud, my friends proud of me. Those aren't, having tough questions about money and promoting yourself are not things that are that are intuitive. Those are not things that you're just going to run out there and do. Yeah. Like I'm so thankful that my mom is a very, strong, but yet quiet person and has let me run my mouth my whole life because she and my dad made a confident person. My other two sisters, they're out of their goth phase. Now they're crunchy bikers. trail bike, not like Harley.
I saw them with the vests and going down Route 66.
They're all very confident. They're both very accomplished in what they do, but that is not how a lot of women are being raised. That's not how a lot of young girls are being raised. And now we've got a new generation that is, for lack of a better term, they're just like turning it upside down, and it's exciting. It's also terrifying as a business owner because you're like, am I cool? Am I canceled? Did I do something? But helping those young people kind of get into, or people who are in transition, get to where they're going, I think is a really big calling. I think everybody should have. If you're in it, whatever industry you're in, take some time, take a meeting a month or a meeting a week and go do coffee with a kid in college. Give them good advice.
So, educate us on that. I don't do that. I would have no idea.
Oh, well, you're a bad person.
Where to start on that. I'm not the best. But I'm not going to go down to the college and like have a sandwich board asking who wants to go hang out for lunch.
That'd be creepy.
That's why I'm not going to do it.
Plus, you have to get a permit, I think, is how they...
Genuinely, how would I go about that? Because that's something I do need to do.
Okay. Do you have your pen and paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Step one.
It's also being recorded, so.
Reach out to your local university or favorite university. Your alma mater, you don't even have to have gone to school there, but like, where did you go to school at?
Where didn't I go to school? OCU, UCO, a little OCCC.
Oh, wow. Okay. What's your favorite if you had to pick one?
Oh, my gosh.
If you had to drive on campus. For the sake of
this conversation, we'll say UCO.
UCO. Bronchos. I was hoping you'd say UCO. So reach out to their department. Reach out to, if you have any old professors that are still there, reach out to them. Okay. Say, hey, I own a business now. If you need a speaker to come and talk to any of your classes, I'd love to be considered. They will take you up on that because they are always looking for ways to get college people interested in life that's about to happen after they graduate. Do you remember like being a senior in college and you're like, well, I guess I'm going to graduate. What am I going to do? I don't know. But they will absolutely take you up on that. Unless they don't like you, then I can't help you.
Yeah. And I don't know them well enough for them to like me or dislike me, I would imagine. And so then those career placement services, I imagine the universities will be able to partner with maybe an interested college student that's just looking to get some...
There's so many different ways. Like I just did a speed networking thing at UCO, and that is one program. It's a sub-program. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I'm so sorry to UCO and the people who put this together, but that was a student-run initiative. But I also have professors who will just reach out to me that I'm still in touch with, and they'll say, hey, got a class. Can I bring him to your office? I did that a couple weeks ago for one of my longtime college professor friends / colleagues, whatever you want to call her. She brought a group of 4 young ladies to my office and they talked to me about their fears, and I told them what I thought. They all took notes and they sent a thank you card. But you can go and speak to class, yes, or you can go and do some of those speed networking things. Those are pretty cool. Then whatever the Alumni Association has in mind, and I don't know if different colleges on campus, like I was College of Business, so that program looks different than maybe, what did you graduate with?
I didn't.
You didn't graduate from UCO. Okay. Boy, that got really dark.
I know. So I'm going to let that awkward pause sit there for a moment.
Sorry, did I bring up something?
So and then I assume as you begin to just spread the word in your network, hey, I'm looking to mentor some people, and the opportunities come up.
You can put it on social media. Okay. Set up a time on your Calendly and let people book it. I haven't done that because I don't know that I want to do that.
So one reason I haven't is because I'm afraid of time, and so honestly, I'm afraid while I know I have experience, I'm like no one cares. I don't have enough valuable insight to provide someone. And then the second one is, do I have enough time to commit? I don't want to agree to work with someone and then, not live up to their expectations.
We're just talking about coffee.
Yeah.
You don't have to write their business plan or anything.
Okay.
I think lower your expectation on what's expected of you.
I'm all in or I'm nothing. So
I got it.
You need help. Let's sit down and I will be with you.
You'd be amazed though. Even just simple things like, how do I apply for a job? Or like, how do I have an interview? Or how do I do like very basic things? You give these young people a taste of what it's like to be a business person. It is so encouraging for them. It is so encouraging for them. I had, I'm a spicy person. I think you've got a little bit of spice to you, a little flavor, maybe not quite as spicy, but
I can.
Okay. Personality wise, I'm not talking about like the way I taste or anything, but I spoke on campus and I might have been a little too spicy. It was a Christian university. Love going to speak to their class every year, but sometimes I forget that maybe some of my outlooks might be perceived as spicy. I don't know. But you know what? I drove 20 minutes out of my way. I don't want to say what I want. And I got invited to do it again. But there was a question. This was a senior management class. And there was a question from the audience. And it was this young lady. And she's a sales major or marketing major with a sales minor. And she asked the question, how do you advocate for yourself and ask for what you need without coming off as cocky? I love this question.
And you said?
I was like, I have a question for Professor, who is one of my dear friends, and asked him, I was like, question for you. When you've been negotiating a salary in the past, have you ever felt that asking for what you wanted came off as cocky? And he said, oh, well, no, well, that's an interesting question. And I'm like, And I was like, wait a second. She's too spicy. I was like, that was too spicy. I think I stepped in something. But he had a really great response. He was like, I didn't think about it that way, but you know what? I have not thought about it that way, but I certainly have heard from other female colleagues some of the things that they feel and experience. So like, interesting. So to her question, your male counterparts may not and most likely do not have the same fear because they are most of the time raised to be maybe a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more bold, have gotten that like, go get him, tiger. And that's societal. I mean, that doesn't speak for every single person. Everybody is different, but by and large, and that's been my lived experience, your male counterparts, if you're a woman in business, are not stepping behind the line, waiting for somebody to ask them for what they want. You have to ask for what you want. And she goes, oh, okay. But I loved seeing these little light bulbs go off in the room, like every young girl. And there was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I love that you answered that question by asking a question of someone else even.
Wasn't trying to be spicy.
No,
so sorry.
There's appropriate times to, and I'm not going to say put people on the spot, but there's appropriate times to change the conversation.
Illustrate for illustrative purposes,
and
right?
I'm sure everybody was ready for this perfectly formed, appropriate answer for the location of where you're speaking, and that you spun it around to make it real world. I don't think that's spicy. I think that's a little bit of.
I mean, maybe for the format of being a Christian university, I don't know. But I think it's something to think about when you are. I mean, if you're a parent raising young people, if you are a young people, it's important to remind yourself that in business, like whether it's getting a job or whether it's going to get your tires changed, like everything in life is a negotiation. And if you can step back and be objective about it, this is what they want. This is what I want. Do we have a deal? Yeah. And that could be like taking your spouse out to dinner. We talk about this at Sandler training all the time, like how to have that negotiation, realizing when you are in a negotiating space. And where I see people get tripped up, and especially in women, we are afraid to ask value. We are afraid to claim our value for some reason. I cannot put a finger to it. I think that one thing is maybe the way that we are raised, but I am very, very super passionate / spicy about trying to coach this younger generation to go for it.
Okay. I love it.
People will say, yes, I am living proof of it. I would not have a company. I would not have a business. I would not have clients if I didn't just go for it.
I love it.
Thanks.
I love it. You had mentioned that you love working with small businesses. That's kind of your focus. So changing topics just a little bit. Yep. What's the absolute favorite part of what you do?
Ooh, that's a good question. You seen the Marie Kondo show, that organizing show on Netflix?
I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Marie Kondo, she is a Japanese woman and she has like a system of organizing and she'll go into homes like hoarder situations and families that are very messy. And she just looks at it calmly and she starts showing them how to organize their mess. Marketing mess. I love marketing mess. I love meeting people who are like, okay, so we're paying something over here. We're not sure what it's getting. We can't get into our website. Someone broke it. Just I like to take inventory of all the things that are going wrong, and then one by one, making them right. And then over time, once we get on like the plan to organize them and get their stuff together. I just had a client email us the other day who's gotten to the point where we're doing active advertising campaigns. And now we're actually able to start seeing the results. Okay. They're like, we've gotten no less than 5 comments on how great our social media looks. And we got leads off of our Facebook this week. Like, we owe it all to you. Yes. And like all my team gets the praise on that. But that is such a cool experience to be part. And I take that very seriously as being trusted with a business's marketing. That's my favorite part.
How common is it that you have to go in and untangle the cables first before you can get everything plugged in?
Every single time.
Is that a conversation you have with your prospects early on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's usually what brings them to calling an agency in the first place or a marketing company in the first place is, my stuff's a mess, help.
Because it seems that the expectation of, hey, it's going to take us however long to fix this, and you're not going to see results for however long that is.
You have to be willing to be patient, do some production, create the stuff.
Because I know a lot of businesses that say, I need marketing, I need it now. And they expect within 2 weeks. I've been running Google ads for 2 weeks. And I've not sold a single thing.
Why are you describing my worst and most hated client experience ever? But we learn better, we do better. But yeah, that is a type, and I will not. I very specifically have adapted my sales process and disqualification process. That's one of my biggest things. Like, when are you thinking you're going to need to see results?
Early on, did you not have those conversations and people's expectations were not accurate?
when you start a business, you might not be quite as stringent because you need to get the business in the door. You need to build the business. But now we're at a point where I can be as picky as I want to be. I mean, I still need to grow. It's painful to be picky and realize that somebody is going to be a not fit when you know that they have the budget to spend with you. But I've learned a lot of different hard lessons in the wrong fit client.
It's frequently more painful.
Oh my gosh.
To not be picky.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I love it.
We try.
Changing topics, not business related. I am always looking, I'm not going to say always looking. I have been looking for groups, organizations to kind of get involved in. As a business owner, your life frequently is pretty separate from other community, as an employee, especially if you're a big company. But as a business owner, a lot of times you don't have that spread of colleagues and community that you do. So I know that you're involved in some different communities and stuff. How have you kind of found some of those places to be an encouragement or to go ahead and get involved outside of business?
That's a good question. Oh my gosh. We all need community. Humans are creatures that need community. We crave community. I don't care if you love working in your basement, away from all society. You need peers. You need people that you can bounce things off of. And that was one of my biggest struggles for, honestly, up until I'd say the first 3.5, almost 4 years, I really struggled to reach out and connect with other women in my business community. And last year, that was one thing that I did that I think is the best thing I did last year, was start reaching out to other women who own creative agencies and marketing companies. And now we have like a little pack of people. But the way you network, and you're back to your question about different groups and how you network with them. There was a networking education moment from an old BNI chapter that I was in a long time ago. And he put it this way: your different groups serve different purposes. So if you're wanting to go into a group environment for the purpose of giving back, feeling good, giving back, or maybe feeding a spiritual aspect of yourself, like some sort of a feel good, that would be your civic organizations in your churches. Okay. You don't go in there looking for business. You go in there to feed that part of you. Business and connections could be a byproduct, but that's not why you're going to those events, right? And that was eye-opening for me. I'm like, oh, stop treating everything like a networking opportunity. Got it. Just be real in those environments. And especially when you're in sales, it's hard to kind of take off the hat sometimes and just be a human. So churches and civic organizations, like I'm involved in the Midtown Rotary. My husband got me involved in Rotary, and we're not churchgoers, but we're big Rotarians, and that's where we go to give back to our community and do what we want to do, which is, help send money to parts of the world that are trying to cure polio, and help raise money for teachers' classroom here in Oklahoma City. That's the kind of good and giving back that we do. The second type of organization would be like a trade or an association organization, where you're going to learn. You're going to learn and you're going to connect with other people who are lateral or maybe up from you. So my example would be the American Marketing Association. When I was in advertising, I'm in a room full of marketers, people who work at agencies, people who work in-house at different places. It's a great place to network so that people know of my company. But you have to be really careful in soliciting business from those environments, because you don't want to be just perceived as a shark in the water. You're there to learn, you're there to grow, and you're there to meet your peers. So those two things. Now, the third is where you're actually wanting to put yourself into an environment where you're getting referrals and leads. And that's what BNI is. Okay. That is where I have felt the best about being my salesperson self and soliciting my business in that format, is in a room full of other business owners who are trying to do the same thing. Sure. I will say that BNI has been awesome. And if any of your listeners are unsure of what a BNI group is, it stands for Business Networking International. They are an international organization. They were founded in California. I've been a member for many years. There's chapters all over the United States. There's many chapters in Oklahoma City, Edmond, Moore, Norman, the whole metro. It is a group of people with a structure. At the end of the day, they have a structure and they have education. And to find a good group of people who will refer you, you need to find your fit. Yeah. Because my BNI group is going to be completely different from yours. Yes. And my potential to get referred, being somebody who works with business owners, is going to be completely different than another person's BNI group. But when you're in and you have the trusted relationships with people and you're referring business, that's the first thing you have to do when you're in those environments, is give referrals to get referrals. Dr. Ivan Meissner has a whole book and podcast, education, whatever. Go. He's making enough money. He can plug himself later. But that's super important to learn when you're trying to sell your business and sell and grow your business, is that you do have to give in order to get, when you're in like a business networking environment, in order to get that relationship jump started. But yeah, those are the three different food groups of networking. That was helpful for me.
I like it. Thank you. That's good. Give us some very educational this episode. Thank you. Good stuff.
Hope so.
We're a few minutes left here.
Okay.
Where would you like to see Siren Media in 5 years?
That's a good question. I feel like we just finished year 4. Year 4 was in November, and it was a painful year. Had some, turnover and new employees, and trying to figure out how to grow and scale. Me being a business salesperson and business development person has not, I just feel like I haven't really sharpened those managerial skills and that talent development skill set. So there are things I'm working on with my business. And one of the questions I'm asking myself is, how big do I want it to go? Or how exclusive do I want to be? Do I want to be a boutique firm that only takes a certain number of clients and projects? Working that out right now. Yeah. We're running the numbers on that. We'll see. But on the flip side to that is, if I'm going to grow, that's going to require a lot more of me, and how much of me and other members of my team do we have access to? There was one quote that was like, I saw it on Instagram the other day. I'm always served Instagram ads by people trying to reach marketing agency owners, and I'll always look at them because they did their job in trying to target me. But it was something to the effect of, you're a human being and you are not built to scale. And I've been thinking about that a lot. So that might look something like a course that you can take from Siren Media. If you don't have the budget to hire an agency and have somebody else do all your work, maybe you do all your work and we're just more of an accountability figure. I'm playing with business ideas like that. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. I enjoy that too. What if?
What if?
What if?
We're just spitballing here.
Yeah. As long as you don't get sucked into it constantly.
Yes. I would love, I think I'm leaning more right now toward building something that can be more recurring and having that take over some of the implementation work we do.
I love it. Well, look forward to seeing what's going to happen there.
Thanks.
So you got to share with us, what's the one piece of technology you couldn't live without?
My iPhone. Okay. That thing runs my life.
Yeah. I'm going to have to find a way to rephrase that differently because I think it's always phone. I'm going to,
okay.
If we excluding your phone, what's the one piece? But you don't need to think of something else. We'll ask you that next time you're on.
Okay.
And if someone wants to reach out to want to learn more about Siren Media, how can they get in touch with you?
You can follow us on Instagram at Siren Media OKC. You can find me on LinkedIn as well as my company, Alyssa Weathers-Murphy and Siren Media OKC. You can find us on Facebook. You won't find me on TikTok yet. Gosh, dang it. Okay. That's just going to be another thing. But, we're doing the best we can. But you can visit my website, www.sirenmediaokc.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris. This was lovely. I did too.
Thanks to the 3 people out there that listened, and we'll see you all next time.
The Oklahoma Business Show is proudly sponsored by Your IT, managed IT services and cybersecurity for Oklahoma businesses. Are you a business leader who's frustrated with your current technology, worried about cyber threats, and too damn busy to handle it yourself? Your IT makes IT easy, with clear and transparent pricing and the ability to customize services to fit your unique business needs. Visit yourit.com to learn more about our services and schedule a chat to find out how we can help you. That's yourit.com. You deserve better IT.